Welcome to the kNights podcast. I am your host, Keiko, and with me tonight is Ben.
Brochachos!
My co-brochacho.
Brochachos.
Us two brochachos. That's what our shirt says. You got the shirt, right?
Yes, Heaven is 57 gray. Metallic gray. What?
This song takes me back to spending way too many nickels at the nickel arcade. For those that don't know, this song, well, actually, I don't even know if it's a real song, maybe, but I only know it from a game called Dance Maniacs, which, if you've ever played, like, Dance Dance Revolution, it's kind of that same vein, where it's like a rhythm game kind of thing, except in this one you use your hands to break through invisible sensors. I think they have another game that's kind of like that, but this is the one I liked playing, other than Dance Dance Revolution.
Dance Maniacs.
That's my jam. And this is the one I always used to play.
So you like that one better than Para Para?
Para, that's more your jam. That's the one you seem to like. I thought, you were actually Dance Dance, I think, right? Before you played more Dance Dance Revolution.
Yeah, I did.
I think I tried to, but Dance Maniacs was definitely for the lazier. I mean, Dance Dance Revolution really took some energy to get out there, but Dance Maniacs, you just kind of stood there, and I have good rhythm, but I don't move so well because I'm fatter. You're much thinner, so you much better at it, I think. But Dance Dance Revolution was kind of like I think one of the first ones to come out.
And this is what kicked it off.
This was big.
Kicked it off.
And they'd always put the Dance Dance Revolution right, like, I think at the entrance to the arcade, because it's the kind of game you play to show off, basically, or fail at miserably.
You're a cheater. You're holding the bar.
The bar is there for support,
that's
so you
impressive,
don't die.
Except he's holding the bar, so I discount everything that he's doing.
I was going to be impressed, and then he held the bar.
He touched it.
You can't touch the bar. That's for noobs. But this one was like, I remember it like when this came out, and it was pretty big.
Back in the day.
Oh my goodness.
It's an oldie but a goodie. A very good goodie.
Well, you don't really. I guess you'll see Dance Dance Revolution game machines around in arcades. They might be broken. Like, one of the arrows might not work so well.
I don't know. I've been seeing more of the knockoff ones, like the pump it up machines.
Okay, they're probably cheaper too.
Maybe.
Because Dance Dance had his time during the big rhythm things during the time when, actually, this predates the Guitar Hero stuff and that peripheral stuff. I think that came in later when people started really, and those were more for home use, even though they did have,
when there was still a red octane.
Yes,
you could buy all your controllers from.
That was later
Dance
on
mats.
for the home. The like crappiest dance mats ever. Like, it's like, take it home. You can practice at home, so you'll get good. And then when you go to the arcade, everyone will be impressed. Except the mats were pretty awful. I mean, it's not their fault. I mean, when you did it at the arcade, it was like this metal thing, and it was sturdy and made for stepping on. Whereas the home version is like made to be just like, well, you can pull it out and you can play it, but you're going to slide around. You're not going to be sure where you are on the mat because the whole mat feels the same. Wherever you step on the mat feels like it's the same. At least the one in the arcade, the arrows felt different because they were on a lowered portion of it.
I actually had that as one of my projects, was to build. There were build instructions on how to build your own actual arcade version stage out of metal and wood with the recess buttons so you could feel where you were.
I think I'd seen something with wood. I see. I don't have much.
Yeah, I never really had
practice
time
with
to
metal.
play. Yeah,
but now you have time. Now you can build it. I think I was on that same thing too. I think I looked that up too. Something where you make your own kind of box, basically.
Yeah, otherwise you were left with that crappy mat that came with the game, and yeah.
I think even yes, even like third-party ones that are supposed to be better. It's like the better experience. It was. I think there were slightly better ones, but it was still pretty disappointing. But yeah, that I remember playing that one as the first one, kind of the beginning of the whole rhythm game stuff, because they came out with like Dance Maniacs, Para, which is another sensor breaking one where you're kind of inside.
Except that one had more of a dance to it.
That one actually did have a dance.
You dance with your arms.
Well, for that one, I think for Dance Maniacs, there's a dance you're supposed to do.
I've never seen it. Doesn't exist.
That's supposed to coordinate with the sensor break. So even though everyone just plays it like, which ones do I have to break? Okay, I'll just put my hands through there. But there's a dance that you're supposed to do. I think for Para especially.
Yeah.
But I never saw anyone do the dance because no one knew it because it was a Japanese thing.
No, okay. Not in the arcades. You don't really see me normally doing it.
Right.
But when like Anime Expo started becoming big, then you would see every now and then, like once in a blue moon, somebody would know how to dance and actually do that at the machine there, and you're like, oh. But then when you actually went to the expo, the convention, and they set up their own little arcade there with all these Japanese games, DDR, Para, Dance Maniacs, etc., Beat Mania, and on and on and on.
Keyboard Mania.
Yeah.
Which nobody ever played, or like they play and go, oh, this is not fun and hard.
I'm not a pianist.
I am not one of these pianists. They did come out with everything. Like they had, I think before Guitar Heroes and Rock Band became a thing, they had Guitar Maniacs. That was an arcade one.
And the only time that you would see those machines constantly busy are at those conventions. And people would know how to play them too.
By then.
Yeah, by then.
Because if you see it in the arcades, it's somebody wandering up to it and going, what's this? And then failing hard and then like, that's not fun.
That was me. I'd pick up the guitar and I'd be like, failure. Like, I'll stick with DDR.
Never mind. Now, if I ever go to the arcades, if I do see a machine, it's usually the Guitar Hero arcade one. I never see Guitar Maniacs.
Yeah, because that was too hard.
It's like, let's tone it down a bit. Although they had, what was cool, they had, like I said, before Guitar Hero and Rock Band came out, they had Guitar Maniacs, I think, or Guitar Mania and Drum Mania.
Yeah, and they linked
and together. You could link them. Like if the owner owned both of them, you could and put the machines next to each other, you could play together, which was really cool. I don't know if I ever saw that in person though. Like I'd see someone playing one or the other.
They should have made a Beatles one. Everyone can harmonize.
That would be cool. But that was the first time before the peripherals, the peripherals at home got big, and then the crash inevitably of the peripherals at home, and everyone's left with plastic guitars and drum sets. And now they're trying to rebuild it again with a new plastic guitar.
Reboot it. It's not backwards compatible.
What the heck?
What? And then the Guitar Hero series, the one that was the actual good one, they came back and instituted a subscription-based type thing where it's like you got a minimal set of songs and everything was like microtransactions. Or you could subscribe and have access to it for as long as you're playing it and then opt out whenever you stopped.
And then they got your money.
Yeah, it's like you paid for the game like 3-4 times over in the short time that you played it already.
And if you ever want to go play it again...
So it's on clearance now. I'm just saying.
I wanted to... Actually, before the new stuff came out, I kind of wanted to... Like, I always like going and getting retro stuff, or at least older stuff, because it tends to be cheaper now, because it's not popular anymore.
But now it's retro. You can get Rock Band, Beatles Rock Band, and Guitar Hero Metallica, and
and play like an hour's worth of intros.
I played one song in the Metallica one.
And you died. And then you died.
And I'm like, my fingers hurt, my arm hurts.
And that was just the
I don't want
intro.
to strum anymore.
You didn't even reach the song.
Yeah, the intro, I'm like, this is still going. How long is this song?
We'll let you know when you get to the song part. But that one...
It's playing Enter Sandman.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. But I wanted to... But when I was looking around, I'm like, okay, I could probably get the peripherals for cheaper, in theory. But I was like, well, now you've got, like, these games, but the songs, like, you'd want to play are spread across, like, 7 or 8 different discs between Rock Band and Guitar Hero. There's no easy way to just, like, let me just get one game where I can get all the songs. Like, I'll pay a premium and just be able to play.
Yeah, you could do that with Guitar Hero, but you had to pay per package that you would get.
Is that for the newer one?
Yeah. And
you don't get to keep them either.
No, you're renting them. You never own it. You only rent it from their server. So if the server ever goes down, you're kind of left with a disc that has like 10 songs on it. Okay, 20 songs.
Yeah. That's always been something that's kind of like been lost in the whole server side thing. It's like, yeah, this game is hosted on the server. Are you going to keep the server up forever? Well, no, of course not. It's like, yeah, but I paid for you have my money forever. I should have the game forever. And it's like, oh, no, you don't have access to it. And I remember seeing something about a game like, oh, it was the sequel to Spore. You remember Spore? Like the one where you could create, it was by EA kind of thing.
Vaguely.
You're right. But
I
they
bought that one.
They made a sequel. I remember watching a video about it, basically called Dark Spore, but it was all basically you had to sign in to play it, even single player. So they took the servers down, and now basically you have a box that doesn't really play anything. You paid full price for it, but the servers aren't there, and you can only play it on the servers, even the single player. And I'm like, is that where we're headed?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Extremely.
Yeah, we should go back to the old days when you got all the stuff you paid for.
Yeah, exactly.
And here
Old days.
Was this one on?
The old days.
Speaking of video games and old video games,
That brings us to our roundtable question. Took a while to get there.
we had a good time.
Pokemon. Little news blurb.
Go
Kind of
ahead.
missed it the last episode and kind of the one before that maybe.
Maybe
20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
If you remember it, you're probably old.
I remember it, but I'm not old.
Whatever you need to tell yourself, sir. Whatever you need to tell yourself.
So, when it came out, which were you, Pokemon Red or Pokemon Blue?
I was Pokemon, whichever one I could get.
Okay, so which one were you able to get?
Actually, I think I got Blue, but I felt like I would have wanted Red.
I got Red.
Because I mean, it had Charizard on it.
Yeah, it had a dragon on there.
It's pretty
the only
awesome.
reason why I wanted it. It's like,
It makes sense. It's a good choice.
it's a dragon. He's awesome.
But Turtle.
Turtle.
Turtle. Come on, Turtle.
Yeah. So, question. Starter Pokemon. What's your starter Pokemon of choice?
From the first one, right? We're talking about.
From the Red and Blue series. And if you were in Japan, the green one too. But basically,
Not that cool.
U.S. perspective. Red or blue?
USA for the win. Wait, red or blue? Why the
Yeah,
did that?
no, that's all that we had. Red or blue.
Okay. I was like, we already went.
No green.
No green.
No green.
But starters. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's basically Bulbasaur, Charizard,
And
Or sorry, Charmander and Squirtle. I think this harkens back to how I actually play the Pokemon games. And I always want to make the best team or the best use of them. So I always went with Squirtle, only because of the long-term ramifications of having it. It's like,
And you built your own Squirtle squad?
what?
This is a callback to the Pokemon TV show now.
Wow,
Squirtle squad.
you're so old. Well, no, I take that back. You're probably watching that as an adult.
I was.
You're even older. Yeah, I think Pokemon did probably come out when we were past the age that it was shooting for.
It wasn't really geared toward our age group. It was more
Not at
towards
that
the younger-
time.
Yeah.
But yeah. I definitely bought the game. I don't think I watched the cartoon as religiously, but I probably did watch. I know of it. I'm not gonna feign ignorance.
Sure.
I still remember the theme song.
Because it's playing right now.
Well, I mean, I'm talking
Was
about the
one.
cartoon
Oh.
one.
Did you watch the movies?
I think I saw the first movie, possibly in theaters. I feel like I did, or I'm having somebody else's memories. Wait, what happened in that first? Was that first one?
The
with
first one is where the
Mewtwo?
world will turn to ash.
What about
it's a
him?
prophecy, Ash. They're talking about you. The world will turn to you. Ash. Ash Ketchum.
That's definitely all you.
Yeah, they had to explain. They had to explain it like that in the movie. Like, facepalm.
Remember, meant for little kids.
Yeah, but I still stuck around and I watched Pokemon 2000 to get the Lugia card. Because remember they were giving out trading cards when the movies came out? It's like, oh, if you go watch it and you're one of the first however many thousands of people to see it, you'll get a holographic Pikachu Pokemon trading card, or you get this trading card or that trading card, and you can only get it in the movie if you go watch the movie.
That's how all the Pokemon that's how they roll. It's like, oh, you want this special one? Want this one
gotta
in a
come to the
lifetime?
Toys
You
R Us
gotta come to
event.
the Toys R Us event, or you gotta come see the movie, or something like that. And even then, I think they had Japan exclusive ones. You have to just come watch the movie in Japan. Like, okay.
Yeah. Because if
It's-
it's a Pokemon trading card game, you know?
It's brilliant. Well done on their part. And 20 years later, and a couple days, weeks, still going strong, technically.
And the logo hasn't changed one bit, not in 20 years.
Well, for the longest time, they didn't change anything. They might have, improved the graphics, but the game was basically the same.
Yeah.
You get a starting Pokemon, you work your way through the gyms, you do a few story things, you fight your way through the Elite Four, you fight the champion, and you're done. And then you go back and, whip everyone's butt with your, overpowered Pokemon. But I still bought it every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And now...
Blastoise.
Wait, so which one did you pick?
The one I picked? Well, I like the red one because of the dragon on the cover, so of course I had to go with Charmander. Char.
I figured that one. Charmeleon? Charizard?
Charmeleon.
There you go.
And then Charizard is. He didn't say his name.
He lost the ability to speak.
He just growled and.
This basically means I could kill you if I wanted to. And he was really strong, actually. What was your favorite Pokemon then in the original ones? Like the one, your go-to one. Was it still Charizard?
Well, I had a. Yeah, I wanted to have a Charizard because dragons are awesome. And
Fair
then
enough.
I had to get a Pikachu because TV show and movie.
Okay.
So those two were always in my roster. Always.
Interesting.
And then eventually I got around to adding in Squirtle and Bulbasaur.
So like a starter pack kind of thing.
So then I had, the Pokemon TV show starter pack.
There you go.
Ash is lucky, he got all of them.
I had to trade, then start, and then trade, then start.
So that was my 4, and then I had 2 more slots left, which I'm trying to remember what I had in there. I know I had like a psychic one or a ghost one as one of them.
I think I don't know if it was always how I played it, but it definitely
Kadabra,
in the most recent ones I always played.
Alakazam.
I always built a strong team. Like it's like, okay, who's strong and like who works together? Like where are my weaknesses? Okay, I need a fire one, and then I'm gonna have to go against water, so I'm gonna need an electric one. So I'd like try to map out, okay, which ones, who's
like
gonna be my
Pentagon
team?
was full.
Who's gonna be my team? Like to match everything. I mean, it was easier in the beginning ones though, because you had less things to worry about. You could cover all your bases, I think, in one team. Without having any weaknesses. Like, okay, I have everything covered, and if I go up against anything, I'm fine. Now there's like a whole... it's more balanced technically, so you can't just have 6 Pokemon that cover everything for the most part, because they've added new weaknesses. Because like in the beginning, like Psychic was ridiculously overpowered.
Yeah.
So if you had a Kadabra or an Alakazam...
Kadabra?
Well, not an Abra.
Alakazam?
But a Kadabra or an Alakazam.
Well, Abra was really annoying to catch because he would always disappear. He's like,
He only
okay, I'm
had
going to
one-
get him now.
He only had one move, teleport. And he'd use it. You're like, ah.
A wild Abra appeared.
Yes.
Use teleport.
No.
Gone.
But it was worth it because he was so freaking overpowered. Because at the time, there was no, Psychic. There's no dark Pokemon in the very first generation. So I think they added it later on, and then Dark was immune to Psychic. So you can just like just use Psychic on everything and insta-win everything. But you could in the first one. Once you got that Abra, you're like, I'm gold. I can just fill out my team with whatever I want. Once I level this Abra, Kadabra, Alakazam up,
Abra, Kadabra.
I don't need anything else. At least that's how I felt. Ghost was always... I always had a Ghost too. Probably Ghastly. Maybe a Hunt. No, Gengar. I usually level up to a Gengar, so... But I still play the same way. I always try to build a strong team. Which is weird, because like... Carrie we'll usually buy the opposite ones,
and then like trade each other.
In theory, but since I know what I want, I kind of just move ahead in the game and kind of blast through it pretty quickly. Because I'm like, I know which ones I'm looking for, I know where they're at. I grab them, I level them, and then boom, I'm at the Elite Four. She catches everything in a zone. Like, she knows, like, she'll go and look at the game fact and go, okay, what's catchable in this zone?
It's like, I didn't get this one yet.
She won't move on until she catches every one of them. Problem is, if you can't keep that up indefinitely. Eventually, you're going to lose interest, which she does. And she's only gotten... She might not even finish the game. I don't know if she's finished the last 2 of them. But she's very focused. I think it's that... She really got to catch them all, which... is another thing in these newer ones. I don't think it's possible.
No.
Right? It's not. Which seems kind of unfun because that's the theme of Pokemon. Gotta catch them all.
You know, one of the most annoying Pokemons to raise was Magikarp.
To what?
Magikarp.
Well, most of the more annoying ones to what I missed.
Oh, to raise. To try to level up and everything because it's like, oh, use Splash. Yeah. So, unless you taught him a move, you basically throw him up there as the first Pokemon.
Well, even if you taught him a move, he was so weak, it wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
You might as well
is a
not teach
waste.
him anything. Yeah.
But then as soon as he evolved, yeah,
Gyarados is pretty ridiculous.
another dragon. Well, sea serpent.
There you go. Well, it was dragon type though.
Yeah, it was.
So it's weak against other dragons, which is weird. Well, I guess that would be weak against
But
something
it's a water dragon.
and ice.
Yeah,
Because
because
yeah,
there's
'cause
glaciers in the water.
Ice Age, they're like dragons and dinosaurs. They're kind of saying they're ice is their mortal enemy. But yeah, Gyarados is pretty strong, and I guess that was kind of the idea, right?
Yeah.
You get this really weak one. It's like, no one's going to
Like
use
if
them.
you put the time and effort into it, then yeah, you would totally get something good. Maybe.
That's kind of the idea behind a lot of like Japanese, like even just regular RPGs. Is the idea is you usually have to grind a lot in them, but you get rewarded because you're stronger. That's kind of like Magikarp in a nutshell. You grind him up, and you get a Gyarados. You just have to grind him into a fine powder and add water, and then you get a Gyarados.
I hated the ones where they would always put you to sleep. Like a
Yes.
Jigglypuff or a Hypno.
But nice thing in that game, in the first one, I think you got a flute.
Yeah, but then you'd waste your move. You're like, oh, they're attacking me.
I
Wake
think-
up. Or
In the later ones, you didn't even get the flute. You're like, where's my awakening? Oh, I didn't buy any of those. Why would I? You flash back to the shop, like, why would I buy this? It's not going to come in handy. Then flash back to where you're at. Just wake up already. You're just
Caves-
slapping you around.
caves are rough. They were-
Zubats are rough. I wonder what it's going to be. Oh, it's a Zubat. Oh, no.
Cool, I caught a Zubat. Keep going, like, another one.
Another one. This save is full of Zubats. It's the worst thing ever.
And then after that, all of a sudden, Onyx. I'm like, uh-oh.
I want to
Crap.
catch it. Uh-oh. It's killing me. This is not my plan.
Oh, no. Yeah, but
Oh, Zubats and Geodudes. You see a lot of those. But when you see the first Geodude, it's like, awesome, look it. It's a rock with hands and arms. That's weird. I gotta catch it. And then you see another 100 of them.
what was your favorite Pokemon, regardless of spec or anything, just because it was cool? Or that you probably had a liking for? That nobody else really liked, and it was one that you wouldn't normally play with. Mine's from the TV show.
It's from the TV show and not in the game?
No, it's in the game, but
okay.
the TV show, after seeing the TV show, it's like, oh, that guy's cool. I like him.
I guess you'd have to say, because I think I've always had the same mentality. Only the strong shall survive on my team.
Far-fetched.
Okay, that's weird.
It's the duck with the leak.
Oh, yeah. Why?
He was very mischievous in the movie. He's almost like the Stitch of Pokemon.
Ah, okay.
I think
Now I
that's the
can
best
see why.
analogy I can give. Like he would hold the leak and start whacking people with it. Like, what the hell? Come on, man. He's like, far-fetched. He was cool. I like him.
That's fair enough reason. I think I liked maybe Dragonite.
Dragonite.
Because you didn't. I don't think you could catch him or something. I guess you could,
Yeah, you could.
but not as in that form.
No, you had to.
You had the
evolve it.
Dragonair, or
Yeah.
but yeah, that one I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's cool because it took up like the whole box because it was so big. When you fought him in the champion had him, I was like, oh, he's so big and he's so cool. Of course, that maybe follows my normal idea of like, got to catch the strongest ones. But that goes back to like the original one. You could catch them all. Do they split them in red and blue? I think they did, right?
You had to trade between the two games in order to get all 151.
But you could.
Yeah, you could.
Not like now where it's like you can catch You can catch a lot of them, but some of them don't even exist in that version of the game. So you'd have to bring them in from older versions of the game to transfer them in if you even can. Although I think the newest one, not the Sun and Moon, but the last one that came out, actually there was a way to, after you'd beaten the game and done a bunch of basically everything, it unlocked portals to legendaries from other games. Like you'd go through the portal and you'd find a legendary from Pearl, or you'd fight the legendary from Emerald, or kind of thing. So I think you could actually get the legendaries from older games in the game if you're that dedicated. And of course, if you're that dedicated, you probably found a way to already bring them into your game, because that's the level of dedication that you are anyway. So you've had that, like Mewtwo from Red. You just found a way to bring him all the way up with you.
Now, they re-released the Red and Blue and Yellow for the 3DS.
They did, or they're going to?
No, they did.
Okay, so
on
those
the anniversary day.
Oh, okay.
Passed. So the cool thing about that is that they enhance it so you're able to use the Pokemon Bank that's kind of built into that app on the 3DS.
Well, because there's a third party. It's basically a cloud for Pokemon.
Yeah. And you can use that, store your Pokemon in the bank, and then transfer them into other Pokemon games. So with Sun and Moon coming out, they're going to be transferable. But Sun and Moon won't come out till Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's holiday 2016.
Yeah. But the most awesome thing is they transferred the game over, glitches and all. So they didn't correct those, so it's true to the original game that you played. And that's including the Mew glitch. So
what is the Mew glitch? Enlighten us.
The Mew glitch is basically you can get
Well,
Mew.
you might like explain who the heck Mew is in case they never played the game.
Okay, explain.
Oh, I don't want to take it from you.
No, go ahead.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'll explain the other part of it.
You can read the other part, aren't you?
Yeah, I can read it.
Well, Mew was actually because there's a glitch to get him in the game, but I think he was given away originally as, like we were saying, you come to their events, their Pokemon events, you have the chance of, or not a chance, but you can get them from basically Nintendo, like they transfer it over to you.
Yeah. The one that I heard of was at Toys R Us. They had
Toys R Us.
certain Saturdays and Sundays that you would have to go to the store between certain times. The Nintendo representatives would be there, and you just plug in and they'd transfer you a Mew. And you knew it was official because it would have the Nintendo tag on there.
And it was Pokemon. Now, in the original Pokemon, there was 150 to catch in the game.
Yeah.
But Mew is number 151. So he's outside of the original 151. He's in the code, but he's just, if you wanted to catch them all, you only had to catch 150, not including, they didn't count Mew as catching them all. But you couldn't get him in game, or so you thought. Like, there was rumors, there's like, do this, and you'll catch Mew. But a lot of them are just like, not really real kind of thing.
Yeah.
But apparently Ben's saying there is a way. One of them is true. It's not a lie.
So it is true. Not a lie at all.
Not a lie.
There's actually a guide on how to catch a level 7 Mew on the original Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow games before getting your second badge. And it only worked, it worked on the old games, and now that they re-released it for the new 3DS Virtual Console, that's kept intact too. So basically the rundown is, you do your thing, get to Cerulean City, which has a second badge. And the moment you get there, you need to clear the Nugget Bridge that leads up to Route 24. And do not fight anybody yet. And there's one guy at the very top. of the area. So you're not supposed to fight him ever. And this is how the glitch works. So in that grass area is where you first see Abra. And you have to catch him. Which is kind of a hard task to do, because he always teleports out of there right before you're about to catch him, that bastard. So once you get him, because you need his teleport ability, you go to Route 25 to the left, and you kind of destroy everyone except for a specific youngster. And this is all information online too. So once they're all defeated, you save your game, and then you teleport back to the Poke Center and heal. Then you go back to that spot where you're originally at, and then when you're ready, you press down and start at the same time. And then if it works, you'll see the menu and the trainer will be looking at you. But since he was off screen, it takes a moment for the game to register, allowing the game to be paused. Now you teleport away, and what you're doing, you're putting in numbers into the game, into the little bits. Yeah, putting numbers into the memory slots into the game. So it's going to kind of set up for the glitch to work. And that's why you have to do it this way, like teleport away, go here, teleport away, save the game, do this, do that. And then now you go back to that youngster on the other side of the screen and you fight him. So you have to make sure he walks into you, otherwise your game will crash. So just walk along the wall at the top and you'll be okay. Then you kill his level 17 Slowpoke and teleport again. So now instead of fighting the youngster, you can go fight the swimmer in the gym. You can be greedy and get 2 Mews. But the moment you cross over the line between the city and Route 24, the menu opens up. So you press B or start, and all of a sudden a wild Mew appears. Crazy.
What the heck?
So he's a level 7 and pretty weak. Kind of. Annoying to catch. So you keep trying until you catch him, and then you save. So now you own a Mew, and you don't have to use a Game Shark. Game Sharks. And, yeah, so everything that you're doing, you're setting up, putting the menu into different states, and you're filling those positions so that the game's going to recognize that and kind of glitch over into giving you a rare Pokemon when you really shouldn't be able to get it normally.
Now, all this stuff he's been talking about, like going here, setting up, basically setting setting kind of bits into the memory, basically.
Yeah.
If you ever seen, have you ever watched Awesome Games Done Quick? Like basically the speed running thing that they have for charity, where they have, you probably heard about it.
Oh yeah.
And they do Pokemon actually. And it's the weirdest thing you'll ever... Like, the speedrun for Pokemon is ridiculous because they're doing so many glitches. And, I mean, it seems like so many to someone who's not part of the community, like, that does speedrun for Pokemon. Like, I think they have one that's a non-glitch one. But they do one that's all basically as beating the game as fast as they can with using glitches. And I don't know how they found these, but basically it's like this kind of thing where like they go to a certain place, they'll pause, save the game, turn it off, or like reset it, then talk to a certain person, which will glitch them past a wall or cause this other thing to happen. And it's all this stuff where they're putting stuff into the memory just so that when it kicks off.
Yeah, because it's called game states. So each function that you do, it puts a game into a certain state. So when you're playing a game, it moves between, like if you're in the overworld, you're in the map state. When you're in battle, you're in the battle state. When you're in the menu, you're in the menu state. So all that stuff, right? States are good. So when you run into the guy in the game, then he sees you, then it initiates the battle state. So that's pushed on. But then you teleport away, so the guy never gets to talk to you, and you stay in the battle state. And then when you go to the other guy, it pushes another battle state number 2. So now you're a battle state inside of another battle state. Battle state inception. So because you're setting up all these states, when you pause it and unpause it and teleport and do all this stuff, it sets a special value. So whatever special value you have, it's going to associate that with a certain character. Like for the Pokemon games, Bulbasaur is a special value of 12. So you can technically do this glitch and get any Pokemon you want. You just have to set the state correctly. And then you could actually have all the legendaries and all the ultra rare ones before you're even supposed to, and just start walking along. I haven't got my second badge yet, but look at these awesome ones that I got. Yeah.
It's basically, and there's a whole bunch of this stuff, and people that understand it and try to speedrun this game. They know all these things like I do, and it's interesting. It's worth watching. I was mesmerized with as they're explaining it. It went way over my head, but I'm just like, holy crap! How do they figure this stuff out? But I mean, it's like, yeah, I do this to like, do that, to do this, to do that.
I kind of think it's like the people who say, "Did you see this hidden thing in this one frame of the movie that's sexually suggestive?" It's like. In The Rescuers Down Under, somebody went frame by frame and looked in the background like, oh, there's a nude woman in the background in one frame. That's blurring by really fast.
That's worth the time.
This one spells out sex. This one, the priest has an erection.
Maybe you're just looking for erections.
Rescuers Down Under, Lion King, Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Dirty animators.
Yeah, but people have time to catch those things, and I'm assuming that same kind of level of attention and I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
But they figure it out. Somebody puts in a write-up and like, hey, now it's easy for me to catch a Mew. Thanks. Legendary Pokemon.
So yeah, you're definitely glitching the game in order to get the Mew.
Yeah.
You're not using Game Shark, but you're definitely working outside the bounds of what's normally supposed to happen. But that's the only way you can do it, really, unless you use a Game Shark or
unless you do it the regular way. Trying to catch Mew the regular way.
The regular
way?
Or
I mean, not Mew. Mewtwo.
Oh well, yeah, but I mean
that was.
Well, that was the end-all, be-all of the first games. That was even after you finished the game.
Just even trying to catch a legendary Pokemon. It's like, come on.
Are you talking about like Moltres and Articuno and Zapdos?
Yep. Yep.
But all those were post-game too, right?
I thought the birds were in game.
I don't remember. But they might have been.
Yeah, kind of vaguely remember it. It's been a while. Yeah, Pokemon. So Sun and Moon.
Coming up this holiday season.
You excited?
I don't know if I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited and like, oh yeah, I'd like to play another Pokemon game. That'd be a nice, fun thing to do. Although technically, everyone kind of, in a way, feels the same when you cut right down to it. But since I like pretty much every type of video game, there'll be that. I want to collect monsters and have them fight and take over the world, or win the championship or whatever itch that I need to scratch, and Pokemon will fill that, and I will play it and then do that and then move on to something else. That's always how I am with games. Sometimes in a first-person shooter mood, sometimes it's a strategy, another time it's getting monsters together and having them fight my enemies mood. That's what I mean, but it does sound pretty cool, and I probably will pick it up. We'll probably pick up 2 of them, Sun and the Moon. I don't know which one I get. I want to say I get the Moon. She can have the Sun. I avoid the Sun if I can. Definitely stick to the Moon. But it's probably going to be the same thing, and I don't even know how many Pokemon they're up to now at this point, because I'm guessing they're probably adding new ones, because they always add new ones.
It's like, what's this one? Oh, no.
It's gotten to the point...
Try grinding on that, catching all those.
Well, she tried it on the last one, so there was maybe a few less.
With how many are out now?
That's what I mean. She tried it with the other one and just...
there's only 151.
No, not the first one. I'm talking about like the most recent one that came out, not Sun and Moon. X and Y maybe, or was it Black and White?
Black
2?
and White, X and Y.
I think it's Black and White 2. And she really did. Like, she was very diligent about it. And I think in game they have a thing that lets you know if you've caught all the Pokemon on the route or whatever it is. So it makes it a little easier. But even then, she's looking at what? How many Pokemon to catch them all?
The current number of Pokemon ranges from 1 to 721 as release of video games Pokemon X and Y. As of the release of Pokemon X and Y.
Is X and Y the last ones? Huh.
Yeah, so it was red, blue, green, and yellow, first gen. Second generation was gold, silver, and crystal. Third gen was ruby, sapphire, emerald, fire red, and leaf green. Then fourth gen was diamond, pearl, platinum, heart gold, and soul silver. Then generation 5 was black, white, black 2, and white 2. And then the sixth generation is X and Y. And then now you can have Sun and Moon. So X and Y brought that number all the way up to 721. And Sun and Moon is probably going to add another 100 to that at least.
One thing that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way on the higher ones now is, do they count because there are legendaries still that you can only get through an event kind of thing. Oh, you missed it? Oh, you don't get it kind of thing. Do those count to you got to catch them all? Because if so, that kind of sucks. Because technically you can trade for them, but who's going to want to trade their special one for your, I don't know, level 5 Pikachu?
Game Shark.
But then why bother catching them all if you can literally just load them all? I'd like to be able to catch them all. Like if they were all in the game or between the 2 games, it's at least a goal you can achieve. But even with both the games, you can't even catch them all. Unless they don't count the ones that you can't catch in the games, but I'm pretty sure they do. So towards the how many have you caught? So in that way, it's like it's frustrating because you can't really catch them all. Hence why I'd like to go back to the 150 and go, I can catch 150. Actually, it seems really easy compared to 700, whatever it is. So that also leans me away from going through the effort of catching them all, because I'm like, I can't catch them all. It's just not possible, so why bother? I might as well just, have fun, get my team together, and destroy the world. And win. That too. But I'm less inclined.
The whole motto of Pokemon is you gotta catch them all.
I will not let that game tell me what to do.
You gotta catch them all.
It's not my dad.
You gotta catch them all.
Disappointed!
It's dumb. It's ridiculous. You can't. That tag worked in the beginning. Maybe in the next generation, when you're looking at maybe 2 something, but 700 plus, no.
721.
No.
And then
which will be
800
800 plus. Come the next one, you're like, I don't even know if I'd like it if it were doable. I don't even think I could do it, even if they did somehow cram all of those Pokemon into the games, into Sun and Moon. I don't know if I'd have the fortitude to actually just I'm spending 3 hours in this tall grass of this one little bit that this thing has a 0.1% chance of showing up in.
I do remember that, having the player's guide. It's it says it's in this area, and they gotta keep playing. It's in this area. Play, nothing. Poke Center, go back to the area, play. Like, and you get all frustrated. And then finally, when you're not paying attention, it just pops up. And you're like, I'm not ready.
I killed it. I spent all that time here that I'm too strong and accidentally killed it without paying attention. Damn it. I just hit attack and killed it.
It's like I've been grinding so hard in this area that he leveled up and became too strong.
Okay, I'm just going to use Splash. Should be good. Oh, my Splash is overpowered. It's too strong. Said nobody ever.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I do enjoy playing it. I don't try to catch them all, but it's not my goal anymore to catch them all. Because it's impossible. But I don't know what they're adding to it. I think they announced the game, but they haven't really gone into depth of what's new about the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think X and Y was kind of leaps in. It was actually a good jump forward. Finally, after the older ones, I think like they did some stuff that actually felt like it moved forward. But I don't know if that's going to. They're going to do that again. It's like we did that once. We're good. Another 20 years of not doing anything much. Okay, take my money anyway. I don't want to give you my money, but I want to give you my money. And then I do.
Yeah.
Damn you, Game Freak. Moving on.
Speaking of old games, continuing that old 8-bit game theme-ish.
Uh-huh.
This was actually news that came out before, and it was big news, too. There was a company, Retro Video Game Systems.
Retro VGS?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they were coming out with a system called the Chameleon, and they were backed by Coleco. And
you mean Coleco?
Yes, that's
right.
tiny print. I'm reading that wrong. So they had I think what was it, a Kickstarter campaign, or was it Indiegogo?
Originally, it was a Kickstarter campaign. They actually had a system before this. This is bad stuff.
Yeah. But it was so promising, and they were, started on Kickstarter, and it did hit the Toy Fair earlier February to give the public a little taste of the retro gaming goodness and some of the deals. And they said that they landed the rights to the Atari 2600 library, which turns out they never did. And then they're like, oh, that's going to be over 300 games and like all this other stuff and all the classic IP from Atari, and then adding in a bunch of other stuff and the hardware emulation, making it possible for the game to pretty much emulate and run whatever system it's trying to do, hence the name Chameleon. So it could be an Atari console, and then because of the hardware emulation, it could be an NES, it could be a Genesis, it could be, all that stuff, good stuff. Super NES, and people were like, oh, cool, you can get all those 90s Genesis games, those 16-bit titles on this one little console. It has like 3 USB ports on the front, or 4 USB ports on the front. And they're like, it looks like an Atari Jaguar, but not quite. But ultimately that fell through and failed. Like after the breaking news, like a week later, they came out saying, yeah, this whole thing's dead now. And you heard about that, right?
Oh yeah, this actually goes even further back than this thing. So the guys behind this current Coleco Chameleon, like you said, they made the original one was called the Retro VGS.
Yeah.
What happened is they had they were going to build basically the original premise was they were like, you remember back in the day where games came on cartridges, your NES, your Genesis, they came on cartridges, and those games, like nowadays, games are always patched and stuff. Like they come out and you're patching them day one kind of stuff. It's like that didn't happen back in the day kind of thing. When they came out with the cartridges, they were good the way they were, even though that's not true either. Like they still had glitches in them even then. But they were like, yeah, we're taking it back. And we're going to release games on cartridge. And they had all these kind of lofty things, but it was really shady. And it's called the Retro VGS system.
Yeah.
And the reason it looks like a Jaguar is because they actually had bought the molds for Jaguar shells. So the original one was going to be, the Retro VGS was going to be like, the system was going to be inside a Jaguar shell. Hence why they look like Jaguar shells. But that fell through because of really bad, it wasn't a good idea at all. And shady things happened. So that one failed. And then they came back, and I guess they bought the rights from the one that owns Coleco. Because do you remember ColecoVision? Another, kind of like during the Atari and television, there's ColecoVision. But they bought kind of the rights to use the name from whoever the right holder is now. So that's how they got the name Coleco. They just paid for it, basically. But the problem was, so they already had a bad, the guy behind it, the main guy, had a bad thing about it. But like you brought up the Toy Fair, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, well, we're doing the Coleco Chameleon, so this is different. This thing's different.
This is huge.
This is, even though no one really trusts them, but they're like, okay, if you're going to the Toy Fair, that's legit. Like you have to have a prototype, because that was the other thing about the Retro VGS. They never had a working prototype kind of thing. And everyone was like, how is this supposed to work? They kind of had these things like it's going to do this and that and this, like, but they didn't really have a prototype of a working model that they were just going to build out from.
Yeah.
So it's just like people wanted to follow it, but there's like, it just got shaded. It's like, why don't you have a prototype? So this one, it's like, you're going to the Toy Fair, you got to have a legit, you have to have a prototype there. You can't just show up with a piece of paper that says, this is what we're going to do. So they did. So they were at the New York Toy Fair recently, and they had the unit with the shell. I think there's a picture of it here, but it's like a mock-up picture basically of what it is. What was if you look up the New York Toy Fair and Coleco Chameleon specifically, like it was there, but people that have been following it noticed that like the system itself was behind glass. I think like you couldn't touch it or anything. And it used, I believe, either some kind of SNES controller, or maybe a USB version of it. But basically, yes. So it's in glass. It's in like this plastic thing, so you couldn't touch it. The wires just ran into the console and didn't connect to the ports in front, because there were no ports in front. It just ran into the shell of it. So like you couldn't see where the wires were connected to anything. It was like really weird. And
there's like a computer under the table or something.
Well, no, that's the thing, because like they noticed, because people have been watching this because they've been a little bit unsure. There's a picture of the back end of it, and on the back end you could see that it's the ports it's using to connect to the TV. It's using what looked like the kind of the proprietary ports for, like, if you've ever seen a Super Nintendo or Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, they have that multi-out connection that Nintendo uses proprietary, where you can kind of connect any of them.
Right.
It has that and the power supply and like the power port, the AC port that you would see
like for a Super Nintendo,
for NES Mini, like the smaller the mini NES or Super NES system. But it was taped up, like it was black taped in the back. But if you looked at the connections, you're like, wait, that's I mean, they could have used anything for their system. So it's like, if you want, it's not something you would go through the trouble of backward, like, oh, these are off the shelf, let's take these. You could just use a different power supply, a different AV hookup.
Yeah.
But they used this one, which really kind of set off alarms in people's head. And when they came out, they're like, it looks like there's something else inside the Jaguar shell, like an NES Mini or SNES, because it was playing a Super Nintendo game. Like when you were playing on the controllers, I forgot what game it was playing, but it was a Super Nintendo game, which was weird because it was supposed to be playing its own special games or something like that. So it was playing Super Nintendo games. It was using like what looked like the AV out and the power plug from a Super Nintendo Mini.
Yeah.
The only difference was that it was taped black, so it looked black. But when people lined up a picture of both of them side to side, they're like, "That's the same." They're like, "Did you put basically an SNES Mini into your shell and then claim that, oh yeah, that's our system running it?" Now they didn't say as much, but it's pretty obvious that that's what they tried to get away with.
Yeah.
At the time, and as we're looking at the pictures, you can see the pieces line up specifically with it.
Yeah.
So they didn't say as much, but they more or less got busted for it. But they didn't say, yeah, that's what we did. So later on, they come out with a picture because this is supposed to launch their Kickstarter for the new one, the Coleco Chameleon.
Right.
This is like, we're going to demo it here. A week later, boom, Kickstarter. But this is kind of flying around because the retro people in retro, it's kind of a smaller community when you really think about it. Like, if they're really into retro and there's someone that would buy something like this, they know their stuff. So what happened was they released a picture on their Facebook page, the Coleco Chameleon guys, of a clear version of the Jaguar shell, so you could see inside it. And sort of, it was weird because you could see a board inside it, right? So you're like, oh, okay, that must be the board they built themselves to power their system. But it was kind of hard to see because they had a watermark over it, kind of thing. And over on the Atari Age forum, like kind of a group of retro gamers that are really, obviously they're in a forum, kind of this, we're kind of scrutinizing this thing because they've been on top of the other one. So, yeah, because there's this one, I think there's like an overhead picture too.
Okay.
Where you could really see the board. But yeah, it's like a clear plastic, so you could kind of see the board. But someone pointed out that they were looking at the board inside there, like going, this is kind of, they were looking at the individual parts, and like, this isn't stuff that you would find in a game console kind of thing, like these chipsets and stuff like that. They don't make sense for like what you'd build into a console for a board like that. So what they figured out, and it's amazing that they did, was actually that the board that they were using was one from a capture card.
Yeah, it's a DVR capture card.
Which is, this is like 3 days after they released the picture. I mean, there's a ton of capture cards going back to the 90s. So it could have been anything, but
it just takes one guy to be like,
and
I've seen that before.
They were all on top of it probably because it's just like they knew there was something shady, and yeah, they found the exact capture card. And there's a picture of basically the shell with the card inside it, and then a picture of the card. You're like, yeah, it's the same card. They basically took apart a capture card, stuck it inside their case, and go, yep, that's our prototype. Because all you do is you see like a game cartridge in the game. You don't see it playing anything. You don't even know if it's connected to anything. It's just in the slot where a game should be. And then you see the card underneath it in the plastic. Needless to say, they took this picture down from the Facebook page almost immediately when this came up. So if you went to the Facebook page for the Coleco Chameleon, this picture ain't there anymore. But it's on the internet forever. So they tried to pull another fast one with this. And after this, more recently, they had said that they had reached their fund. They actually weren't going to do the Kickstarter because they actually had gotten the funds from a third party, basically. So they didn't need to do the Kickstarter. It's some more news that came out. I don't know who gave it to them or if it's true or not. But another thing that happened is actually Coleco revoked their use of using Coleco Chameleon. Basically, the guys doing this, they can't use the Coleco name anymore.
Yeah,
Coleco's like, no.
Yeah, Coleco Holdings, the company with the rights to the Coleco name and properties, terminated their association with Retro VGS and the Chameleon Project, stating, Retro has decided that the work they have created is not sufficient to demonstrate at this time. Consequently, we can no longer proceed with the project and the Chameleon Project will be terminated. The separation is amicable. We wish Retro luck in the future. Burn.
They pretty much, yeah, they're like, nope. Because, I mean, judging by the other picture, I don't even know what they would have demoed for them. They probably had to, like, okay, we expect to see some kind of, prototype for what we're letting you put our name on. And I don't know if he brought them that doesn't do anything or something, but, because, I mean, there's Coleco stuff coming out. Like, there's, like, usually the all-in-one systems where it's, like, a hookup where you just hook it up to the TV and it plays Coleco games. Usually, like, the Atari ones. Atari throwback ones where it's just like, well, it's got all the games inside it. You just plug it in your TV. Here's a controller. You can play it, kind of thing.
Right.
So they probably have things set up with those other ones that are doing legitimate, like, all-in-one systems that they don't have to, like, we're not going to tarnish what we got. I mean, just because of this. So they're like, nope, you can't do that.
Yeah, Retro VGS, they deleted their Facebook page and website.
It's pretty bad.
And then following that, the COO of Atari, Todd Shellbetter, says Atari does not have and never has had an agreement with Retro VGS to release Atari 2600 games on their product.
It's weird, yeah, because they were also saying how they were going to get developers to develop specifically for their console. So basically foregoing any money of releasing it on Steam or any other console to release it on their one console, which a very few amount of people probably would have bought in the first place. So it's like, yeah, come develop games for our console and only for our console. And who cares about that money you would have made if you put it on, I don't know, Steam or anything like that. So it didn't even make sense there that developers were really going to flock to the system for some reason. And like I said, it was supposed to use cartridge base. So it wasn't really going to be all the information was going to be on the cartridge kind of thing. So it wasn't going to be updatable more or less. Like once you got it, it was supposed to work perfectly. No updates or anything.
Yeah.
And while updates are a pain in the butt now, games back then were not perfect either. They could have done with updates, but you can't update the cartridge, so you couldn't. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Now it's just taken advantage of by day one patches. I will fix it day one, they say now. Or we'll load the entire game.
It's like the game's not ready yet, but we're going to work on it as it's making its way out into the supply chain, and then we'll patch it once you get it in. So as soon as you turn it on...
I actually saw that happen more than once.
Yeah, as soon as you turn on the system and you load the game, guess what? Download, go make dinner, and come back in like an hour or two.
'Cause, yeah, when I was working in the industry, like they'd make agreements with like with Microsoft or Sony or something, because there's time between the game's done. It has to be burned and put out in stores and stuff. Like they'll let it pass because usually they're very like, we won't let this go through. But it's like, how about you let it go through, and we promise that we'll do a day one patch for all these issues that you have found with our game. And depending on how good their standing is or how much money they got, they'll like, okay, you can do that. And if you're like a big time game that they want on their system, they're willing to be even extra lenient and basically let you patch practically the entire game the first day. And like you're saying, just, go make a sandwich. You're going to be waiting for a while because they're basically reinstalling the game on your system to fix all the mistakes they made, and then to fix the mistakes they made while fixing those other mistakes. Always a good time.
Good times.
But you couldn't do those on the old systems, so. But yeah, it was a big old mess, and it was a big deal in the retro game community, like, because
it sounded too good to be true. But everybody wanted it to be true.
Well, because even then, I think one of the main guys that was leading that project was kind of a bigger guy. Like, I think he did a retro magazine dedicated towards retro games for a while too.
And he left.
And yeah, it's just like,
because of this whole fiasco.
It's pretty bad kind of thing. And yeah, it kind of tainted across the board some people that are in good standing that just got caught up into it. Like, there's one main guy that definitely was trying to pull one over on everyone, I guess, but eventually just fell apart. And it's sad, but I don't think it was ever going to work anyways. The retro VGS, it's never going to work itself, but
yeah, it was David Giltinan, the managing editor of Retro VGS's Retro magazine, announced his departure from the company, cited the ongoing issues with the Chameleon as the impetus behind his leaving, saying, "I have to separate myself from everything associated with it." Though he conceded poor messaging from Retro VGS, he also asserted that there was no ill intent or maliciousness on part of the team. Sure.
Well, it seems like there's one main guy. I don't know if it was that guy, but there's kind of one main guy that was really pushing the Retro VGS and the Chameleon. I can't remember his name, but like, as other people fell away, this guy was the one that's like the focus of the really bad things that happened with it and stuff, and the shadiness of it all. But a lot of people were caught in the wake of it that either should have known better, or like just willfully were ignorant. Like, just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. Like, people were shilling for it and stuff, but there didn't seem to be any reason to, because there was nothing behind it. As you can tell, it was mostly vaporware, more or less. But they're like, no, this is, all the naysayers are like, this is gonna be great, even though it wasn't, but they said it. So it's hard. The people are starting to shake out and see who.
You know how big their funding goal was?
No.
It was almost $2 million. Well, it was $1,950,000, and they only raised a bit over $80,000,
which is still, wow. Some people did believe in it, but no, yeah,
that's a lot for a retro system.
True, it's very niche, but consoles are not easy to make. On the one side, I don't know if they're $2 million hard to make, but they're not easy to make. But it was going to be a niche product anyway. At best, it was going to be a project of love.
You'd have to pledge $135 to get one.
Yeah, that.
You could get a Nintendo 3DS for cheaper.
You don't even know, because you could get an Atari 2600 and pretty much probably most of the games for it, and still have money to spare. Maybe one game you couldn't get, and that's only because it's super rare. But other than that, you pretty much probably get the Atari library and Atari 2600 for that cost. Probably.
You can probably even just do it yourself. Download an emulator and like all the ROMs.
Oh yeah, if you wanted to go that way. And well, it does fall into a weird middle ground, because anyone who likes having the original, playing on the original cartridge and the original systems, isn't going to want to play on another system. Otherwise, they would just emulate it.
Yeah. Well, that one was emulating it in a sense too.
And it was still emulating in a sense too. Good point.
So you could pretty much kind of maybe cobble something together, like a Raspberry Pi or something. Throw it into, find a Jaguar.
Yeah.
You got the case.
Yeah.
And like, look, I got my own chameleon.
It's got
Wink, wink.
it's got a capture card in it. It'll capture all my gameplay. I mean, you have the Retron 5 now,
Yeah.
currently, that plays a lot of different games, say Genesis,
Do you
Super
have that one?
Nintendo. I do have Retron 5.
How do you like it?
It's fine. It basically is emulating the games, and I haven't gotten a chance to use it much lately. Mostly because I actually went out and bought most of the consoles that I wanted. But it works. Actually, what it does best, what I learned later, it's actually really good about it that the original ones can't do, is actually you can have it run fan translations with the original game. So like you could buy the Super Famicom card of like something that's rare here in America that's not rare in Japan. Like it sells for a lot less money, like Chrono Trigger. I'm not sure if that's true, but basically games that weren't released in America that fans have translated. That's
Dragon
usually
Quest.
like the Dragon. Well, you have Dragon Warrior, but if you want to play the original Dragon Quest, or like some of the Final Fantasy games, usually you'd have to get the emulator and get the translation file and then run it through the emulator kind of thing. But on this one, you can buy the game, put it in the Retron, and you can load the translation on an SD card, put it in the Retron, and tell it, okay, play this one on the game. So you can play the original cartridge. You can buy the original cartridge, and then you can play it as if you were playing it, because you can play it on an NES controller or whatever, SNES controller, and it'll play on your TV, and it'll use the fan translation. So it's actually that's something that the original hardware can't do. It can't just automatically translate it. So it's really good for that, and something I learned after I'd bought it. I'm like, oh, so it's basically a translation box. Works for Super Nintendo, Nintendo, Genesis, anything that has a fan translation. It can do it because it's basically the Retron is essentially an emulator. Like it pulls the game off the game card and emulates it. So that's how you can have it translate, run the translation through the machine and onto your TV. So if no other reason, that's one reason to get it. But also, if you're into retro gaming and you don't feel like hunting down the original systems, it's also a very good option, I think, if you want to just start getting them. But beware, if you really liked certain games from when you were growing up, they're not going to be super cheap. They're not going to be super expensive, but like a lot of the main games, like Contra, goes for like about $40 or so, like around there. Like
You can't even find them at thrift stores anymore. They're really hard to find.
Well, you're not going to find any of those common or the ones that people liked. Like I said, Contra or Mario Brothers 3, or the ones that people like when they come back to the system, like, ooh, I grew up playing this game. I really liked it.
Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars.
You're not going to find those games. You're going to find those on eBay. You're not going to find them, definitely not probably at a Goodwill or anything like that. Or
unless you're very lucky.
They're
They're floating out there, but you really have to do.
Well, the problem is
searching.
There's a lot of other people around this time that grew up during that time with the games, now have disposable income, so they're buying the game. So right now, actually, it might be getting to
It would have been cheaper
N64.
just to keep the game.
You probably would have, or if you had gotten into it earlier. Now we're kind of in that area where, like, we're adults now, and we're like thinking nostalgically about our childhoods. Like, oh, I remember playing this game. So you got those people that have money now to spend, and now they're collecting for this one. And I feel like it's going to move up. So eventually, like, people that were young when the N64 was new, maybe they'll start like, oh, I feel like I grew up on the N64. I want to start collecting for the N64. So maybe that will become a thing, and it'll kind of move on. Also, people that are collecting for NES and Super Nintendo, they'll complete their collections and go, oh, what else is out there? And start collecting for the next one. If you're hardcore like that. Not me. I just play... I just buy games that I either wanted to play or that are really cheap at the swap meet. That has gotten me into trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
I own way too many games.
I've seen it. I've seen the bags.
Yes. As my fiance is ready to admit to me, or to tell me many times, are you going to play all these things? And I do want to, especially the ones that I never even heard of this game. I gotta try it kind of thing. But I'm still putting together my consoles, so they're just sitting there in boxes, taking up lots of space, and looking like, why am I marrying him again? Kind of thing. Surprisingly a good sport for it, so you know, I love her to death that she puts up with that part of me, which likes to buy video games.
And keep them in boxes.
Yes. I'm hopefully going to get them out of the way soon, so it'll just look like a lot of games on a bookshelf now, as opposed to a lot of games around the house, like taking up lots of space.
Or you can build a giant video game TARDIS storage cabinet.
And then I need to build another one.
Bigger on the inside.
I'd actually need to build a TARDIS to store all the stuff. I'm looking forward to finally playing them. I'll have Ben over. I'll show Ben
But
some
where
new
can you
games.
keep all your peripherals, like for Para, for Beatmania, DJ Hero, Rock Band, Guitar Hero World Tour?
It was funny. I recently was like, I didn't have DJ Hero actually. I had a Beatmania one, but I know you had the DJ Hero. I never played it, and we were just
I got 2 of them.
yeah, but
I bought one when it came out, and the other one I found at a thrift store.
we did too. It was really weird. We were just kind of like cruising around to different ones, like, oh, let's see what they have here, and we went to Goodwill and they had one that was just like sitting there, and like it was like, I think it was $10. It was just for the controller, because I'm like, oh, okay.
Controller in the case, right?
No, it was just a controller.
Oh, okay.
By itself. Yeah.
Okay, I think mine was like 20, but it came with the whole thing.
It
like
probably came with the case
game,
and stuff.
Turntable.
So I was like, oh, let's get that, because I had the game, but I had bought a turntable for $1 at the swap meet.
What?
But it was broken.
Oh.
The little nub was, I don't know what they did, but it was dead. It was just rolling around. So I had the game now and no controller. So I'm like, oh, let me get this controller. So we're going to other places, and we end up at another Goodwill, and there they had another DJ Hero. They were both for Wii, and it's like, and this one was in the box, like as if it hadn't been opened. It didn't have shrink wrap, but it was the box, and then had the controller, and it had the game in it.
It's probably like a Target returner or something.
But it was $10 for everything. I'm like, I was looking for another sticker. I'm like, this can't be right, because
It's like, I'm not going to let go of this.
okay. So I take it to the front, and then like, yep, just going to buy this. And then the lady there is like looking around for like another sticker, because it just says $9.99 on it. And I'm like, I just shrugged her. I'm like, that's what it said over there too. She's like, okay. So I basically got the game and the controller for $10. I'm like, and that was the same day I saw the other controller. I'm like, what is? I think I meant to play DJ Hero, because I found 2 controllers and the game. Like, okay, it's meant to be
2-player time.
2-player time, even though I still have yet to play it. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so I gotta play DJ Hero, and that was really weird. I haven't been to the swap meet for a long time. That's kind of a bummer. I miss the swap meet. It's good times. But yeah, that's where I got a lot of my games from there. Not the special ones, though. I still had to go on eBay for those, which kind of bums. But
what you gonna do?
yeah.
Now,
Did you play the game I got you?
No, I haven't had time. But I was itching to play it that very day, and like, I can't play it today.
I bought him.
I just ignore everybody. Like, happy birthday. Yeah, don't talk to me.
I was gonna say, yeah, like, and you need time for that game. That's not a quickie, so you would have had to like take time to play.
Who needs sleep?
Is that Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars?
Yep.
I knew you liked it. You talked about it as one of your favorites.
Yep.
So
And there's an article that came out recently, too. It might have been like an opinion article, but they said the best Mario RPG game that's ever been made, even now with like Paper Mario and all the other ones. Like, nope. Can't even come close.
I haven't played all the other ones. I did play Mario RPG, and I probably played it 2 or 3 times, actually.
Did you beat Sephiroth?
In that game?
Yeah. Was it Sephiroth?
No, it was another character from a Final Fantasy game. You're
And
talking
he
about
had the crystal elements that you throw out in the
the secret boss. That was harder than the actual boss of the game. But I don't remember what his name was. Someone should look that up. But I know what you're talking about. I think I only tried him once, and I didn't max out my characters. I just thought I could take this.
Kulex.
Of course.
See,
why couldn't we remember that?
I just remember it's from Final Fantasy, like
yes,
stuff. And that's the name.
That's the name that sticks out. Well, because you and your brother played, right?
Yeah, we could not beat that one. It's like, oh, we beat all this other stuff, and like, hey, there's a secret boss here. Let's go.
Could kick his butt, right?
Like, oh my god. So then we started grinding out in the area around there. We boosted up our characters like about 10, 15 levels, went back in, like, we got this. We're loaded up with potions and everything.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
No.
It's like,
And has been that way ever since.
And then we just kind of gave up.
Right. So that's your hurdle.
Yeah.
Because there's always games that like leave those ones that you never beat, or the guy always got the best of you. I think Ninja Gaiden, I never beat that one for the longest time. Or super hard games. But that boss, I never beat it either. Damn, now I'm going to go back and do that. It was... I don't even know if you even maxed out your characters if you could win.
I don't know.
You just had to get like super lucky or something.
Yeah, the thing started off saying, "Greetings, I am Gulix, Dark Knight of Vanda. I have crossed into this dimension to fight for the Dark Mage. But this world is uninhabitable for me and my kind. I must return to my own world. But before I go, I would like to challenge your strongest knight. Will you accept my challenge? Will you enter combat against me?"
And then somewhere between that and your game over screen.
He's like, "On guard, I am matter, I am antimatter. I can see your past, I can see your future. I consume time, and I will consume you." Yeah.
Sounds inviting.
But you could beat him, because there's a quote that's saying, "Take this treasure as a keepsake of our fight. Farewell, champion knight."
1 coin. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, I guess it was, actually, I don't know. I assumed it was beatable, but...
4,096 HP. His attack was 250. His magic attack is 100. Defense 100. Magic defense 80. He had Shredder, Meteor Blast. Oh my god, I remember all these. Flamestone, Dark Star, and then the Quartz Charm item.
I'm having PTSD now.
Yes.
It's like, it's all coming back to me. Those were bad times.
You remember that, right? Yeah, see that?
I do remember that image. And I think I only fought him once before I'm like, nope. Done.
Well, if you can't do it, what chance does anyone else of us have?
Well, this is during a time when I don't know. I obviously didn't own the game. I must have rented. You know what? I must have rented the game. I assume I ran out of time. I did not give up. It was not my fault in any sort of way, is my story for this point in time.
But now you have the game, so you have to beat him.
That's my goal. Fair enough. Seems like reasonable.
It's not to beat the game, it's to beat him.
The game itself I don't think is terribly hard. At least I think I think I beat it like 2 or 3 times. Maybe once or twice. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I never beat that thing. But I don't know if I ever maxed out my characters either. I think this is when I was younger and not as into grinding. Like now, I'm willing to I could see myself grinding to whatever the max is level just because I've done it in other games. I will do it there, and I will bring back stories of victory. Unless you do it first.
Victory!
I don't know if you have the time anymore to do it.
No.
You need to just sit down and just play, and then...
Yeah.
Then your wife would be like, what happened? I don't know.
So behind on all the TV shows right now.
Staring at the screen.
So behind on all the TV shows.
It's true.
I'm only caught up on Walking Dead because that's just
That's your show. That is your show. Like Flash, you were
that
kind
got
of
away
up
from
with,
me.
but then that fell away from you. You just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, it just ran away from me.
I don't think you were watching Arrow. Were you watching Gotham? No, you weren't watching Gotham.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
That one
just
when
started.
it hit the hiatus,
okay.
I never
Picked
started
it up
back up with it again.
Because that one just started this week again, so I haven't seen the newest episode. What was the other one? Oh, Legends of Tomorrow. Did you see any of that?
No.
Okay. So yeah, a lot of shows, but you're keeping up with what's important to you. Walking Dead.
Sleep is important to me too.
Okay, maybe.
Haven't been keeping up with that.
It's important that you still haven't been keeping up with that.
Are you caught up on Walking Dead?
One episode behind.
Yeah, you should catch up.
I should. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, I didn't miss it for any particular reason. I just right, it happened.
There's 4 episodes left now, and it's gonna ramp up.
There's 4 episodes left. Didn't they just come back from hiatus?
Yep.
Huh. Feels like it wasn't too long ago.
So it's about to ramp up to that cliffhanger as they normally do.
The next cliffhanger.
And then it's like, oh my god! Wait till October.
Then it's all over until October.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of shows that are over, did you hear Mythbusters just had its last episode?
Yes.
I think this past weekend or so. Maybe this weekend before, but yeah. I think 14 seasons of the show.
Yeah.
14 seasons of the show. And yeah. It's officially over. I know you didn't really watch it, and you've seen some things from it.
Well, it was on cable, so when I still had cable, I was watching it pretty regularly, and then
Then you didn't have cable.
Well, they jacked up the prices on me, so I'm like, I don't need this, I don't need that. So
there's a lot you don't need.
It's like, I'm just gonna keep the internet. Just give me my internets.
You do need the internets.
And they're like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, you're charging me way, way more. You basically doubled my rate for the bundle, the triple play bundle, which the phone is a total waste. And I have all these cordless phones around the house now. But luckily, they link to the Bluetooth on my cell phone. So I can link up 2 cell phones to it. So when the cell phone rings, I can answer on the cell phone or on the house phone.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yay for Panasonic.
But yeah, that they this is their final season for the show, and it's pretty good because they kind of did something towards everything. Like they had a duct tape episode, they had a reunion episode because I think either last season or the season before, I think it was last season. They didn't have the other team anymore. The Tori, now I forgot their names. Tori, Grant, and Carrie. They had the second team that kind of did other myths on their own, but they got rid of them. I don't know what happened there, but they were let go, and it was just Adam and Adam Savage and
Jamie Heineman.
There you go. It was just the 2 of them, and they just did the whole show themselves. It was still good, but I kind of missed the other guys too. But they had a reunion special where they mainly just talked about, you know, their favorite myths or their worst things that happened behind the scenes and stuff. And they had kind of people that had pre-recorded messages for them about, you know, how much they loved Mythbusters and how sad they were seeing it to go. Like President Obama did one, and obviously Neil deGrasse Tyson did one, and it was pretty cool. And it made me want to rewatch like all the other 14 seasons.
The comment that I saw was like, what Bill Nye was to our generation is what they are to this next generation. To get people interested in science and the methodology of just questioning things, seeing how they work, asking the questions of what if.
And making it interesting, like, because science is science.
Explosion helps.
Right, but they did, it was all hands-on stuff. It was like we're going to make a thing to test something, but this thing that we're going to make, it never existed before.
And that was the coolest part.
Right, and then they blow it up most of the time. And I think during Adam Savage's AMA, I think someone asked a question about, like, they were talking about Bill Nye, and like Adam was talking about how, yeah, it was kind of inspiration, not for the show, but like just to him in general, and kind of to the show later on, technically. How it was a different approach to it.
Yeah.
Whereas theirs, they were like trying to use science in order to figure out how things worked or didn't work, like bust myths, like by using science and stuff like that. Bill Nye was really about explaining how things worked via science, kind of like in a fun, interesting way. It was more explaining science itself.
Yeah.
They just kind of, but they both got people interested in science from different ways. Mythbusters blowing stuff up, but also creating stuff, and, you know, opening up your mind to different ways of seeing stuff. Because one of the things he was saying, actually the whole team was saying during the reunion, was like, it's when things that they didn't expect to happen, like they'd set up these tests to test these myths, and they'd enjoy it when something they totally didn't expect to happen, like, oh, this is totally gonna fail, it's not gonna work, and then it works or something like that, and the myth's confirmed or something they expect. It's like, oh, this is gonna work, totally failed kind of thing when it ggets put to the test, kind of thing.
That was another thing too, is like a lot of the myths that they had, it wasn't one and done. They would get some more of the critical viewer feedback, and they say, you know, if you did this differently, or you kind of overlooked this part, they would go back and retest that same myth again.
They'd have specials where they'd be like, they take old myths and retest them. Because a few times when I was watching the show, I'd actually go to they tell you to go to the boards, and like if you had comments or stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't really read comic, I just lurk. But it was always, regardless of the episode, whatever they were testing, there was always like, oh, well, what about this? You left this out, or there was always, regardless of whatever myth they were testing, pretty much they'd always go, well, you said this was confirmed, or this was busted, but you did it this way, but what if you had done it this way? Like you were saying, like, what if you had added this, or you missed this variable, basically. And they do a whole episode dedicated to, like, well, you said we didn't do it this way, so we're going to try it that way, because you're right, we want to try it that way. Another thing they did also is, like I said, they didn't want to just test the myth, but sometimes they'd, like, if it was really, like, busted, like, really early, like, okay, this is obviously busted, they try to find a way to recreate the myth. Like, how can we get this to happen? If you do this and this, it causes an explosion, and then they do it and it doesn't cause an explosion. Like, well, how about we replicate the myth? What will we have to do to get it to explode, kind of thing? We're going to get an explosion.
It's like, we need more explosives.
Jamie wants big boom.
Yeah.
and they did. And I mean, it's fun watching stuff explode for science. I think.
Science.
and like some of them, another thing they were saying during the special is that they also loved it when they did, when they either confirmed or did myths that actually were helpful to people. So like certain myths where it's like, where you shouldn't do this or you should do that every time. Like they test them out, like whether it was worth doing or something. And one of the ones they were talking about specifically was car underwater, where they tested the myth like, I think it's like, is it possible to escape a car once it's underwater, or like to open the car door, basically, like to get out of a car. How hard is it to get out when a car is underwater, kind of thing, like they show in the movies and stuff. So when they tested the myth, they found that like you'd want to either open the door before it was submerged, like if you could before, but once it was kind of under the water and there's pressure outside, the best way to do it was to actually wait for the car to fill up with water, but staying calm. That was the trick. You had to manage to stay calm, and so you know, preserve your air so you weren't hyperventilating or anything.
Yeah.
Stay calm and wait for the car to fill up with water. Once it filled up, it equalized the pressure, so you could easily open the door and get out. But like if you'd kind of just lost it and you were like panicking and stuff, you wouldn't have the foresight to do that, and you'd probably drown because you'd have panicked and run out of air or something. But once it equalized, the door is easy to open, is what they found, testing it, you know, in a safety condition. He still said it was terrifying doing it, even though they were completely like, there was people with air there, he was in a pool. He still said it was terrifying to do it in that one. And then in that episode, the reunion one, they showed where a lady that had happened to a lady and her daughter, like her not toddler, but like 2 or 3 year old daughter was in the back, and they were like going over a bridge that was just kind of over a river or something, or a lake or something, and it was icy, and then boom, they're off the bridge into the lake. And as you know, as it's going down, she had seen that episode and she had remembered what they kind of the conclusion was, you know.
Yeah.
If you just stay calm and wait, let the car fill up with water, but stay calm. Once it fills up, you'll be able to. And she said, yeah, once the car filled up with water, she stayed calm. She kind of got her daughter out and then waited for it to fill up. And I probably, told her daughter to hold her breath at a certain point. And once it filled up, she was able to open the door at that point, and that's how they survived. Basically using the information that they had learned on Mythbusters to save their lives. And just like, stuff like that, you're just like, how could you not be proud of that? Where you save somebody's life from your show that you usually blow stuff up. Like, no, there's some real practical stuff here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember I have a collection of worst case scenario handbooks, and that was actually in one of them. It's like, if your car ever ends up underwater, as soon as you hit the water, they're like, what do you want to do? Open the door right away, roll down your window right away. But the whole point is like, stay calm and don't fight the pressure. Just wait for everything to equalize and then calmly make your way out. It's like, cool. And that was one of the things, is like, it wasn't just like you're saying explosions and stuff, but they were testing a lot of those worst case scenario type things that I've read about in the other handbooks.
In the book, right? And you're like,
and
okay.
It's like, oh, they're actually showing this and doing it like a live demo.
Right.
It's like, that's cool.
And in that one, they're not exactly sure of the results. They're like,
right.
It says it should work, kind of thing.
Just like when you read it, it's like, oh, it makes sense. It should work.
It should work. But you're like, in the back of your mind, like, but I just read that. I didn't see anyone actually do it, except in a movie.
And now they're doing it.
And now they're doing it. You're like, okay, I see exactly what it's going to look like. Heaven forbid if I should ever end up at the bottom of a lake or something, I know what it looks like. Or at least not the bottom, but at least somewhere where, like, okay, I've seen it, so I can replay it in my head what happened. Okay, Just stay calm. It's too late to open the door. Too late to open my window. Or, well, even if you can open the window, there's probably too much pressure to even roll the sucker down.
Yeah.
And if it's electric, yeah, that ain't gonna work. So, yeah, you're probably stuck in there until that C scenario. Let it fill up with water. And then, open the door and get the hell out of there kind of thing. But they had like I said, 14 seasons of shows. Some of them were, less useful for a daily occurrence. But other ones, were really helpful.
They had the movie ones, like James Bond dedicated episode, Star Wars dedicated episode.
Which is like, that's based on movies.
Zombie
and stuff.
dedicated episode.
MacGyver dedicated episode. I don't know if you remember that one. I remember it very well, but it's pretty cool.
I heard about that. I didn't see that one though. That was
worth
one of the
watching.
ones I missed.
You probably know the episode. They probably took whatever the myth was
I've
from.
never seen that one. I just watched that one yesterday.
Exactly. You'd probably have better knowledge than I would of, like, oh, you know what he did, kind of thing. Because they're obviously, or at least Adam Savage and probably Jamie Hyneman are big fans of MacGyver because he uses his brains and science, more or less, to find his way out of situations. Science. And it's amazing, and they tested that, and it's done for now. Like, I think Adam has a show, like a video, like a YouTube show or something like that, like called, I think, Tested. So he's still gonna be producing videos and stuff. Maybe not as big, grand scale as MythBusters became.
Yeah,
but he's still doing stuff. I wouldn't doubt he seemed to be like the guy that was like made to be on camera. Just, I think, loved being on camera. Jamie Hyneman is just kind of like, I like the idea of what's going on, but I'm not a TV person. It seemed to be watching.
No, he's actually come out and said so
Yeah.
in the interviews too.
I think he got better at it as time went on. Like, he kind of got more used to it, at least for
Didn't
when it
they
was.
have like shows where they went out and kind of like live
Yeah, I
podcast
missed
type
it.
things where they didn't really talk about it, but they just fielded a lot of questions.
Well, they did tour a show, actually. It was basically Mythbusters Live. They had one out here in LA, and I missed it. I kind of wanted to go, but I didn't, and now I wish I had, since it came to an end. But I mean, it sounded like it was a lot of fun. They did audience participation, like kind of stuff like that. I don't know if they blew anything up. They probably blew something up, but yeah, that's obviously probably not going to happen anymore. And apparently they're not like friends, like the two of them.
No, they're good working together. but
Right.
They don't hang out together. They're not friends.
They're not that kind of a friend. Like,
Yeah. They don't talk or hang outside of work or have dinner together.
yeah.
The only interaction is just at work, or if there's any social gathering function thing that they have to be there together.
Which was kind of a bump. And like he talked about during his AMA, someone asked him the question, now that they're not doing that anymore, how close have they become over all this time? And he basically said, I've made clear before that Jamie and I aren't friends, in that sort of way, kind of thing. And I guess, yeah, I get it. They do their own thing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Penn and Teller are kind of like that too, where they're obviously hooked together completely, Penn and Teller, but they don't hang out together or anything like that. They are working partners, but that's about it, kind of thing.
Right.
Which is kind of like I said, a bummer. Like, you'd want them to be friends, but you can kind of understand because, like, Penn and Teller have been together for years. Like, they've been doing their act forever together, so they're probably like, okay, we don't need to be like that, I guess. And same with Adam and Jamie, kind of thing. So I guess we won't probably see anything with them together. Maybe later on. I don't know what they're going to do after this. They didn't really say. I mean, it just ended, so maybe they're just like, time to be off. Because they showed, like, the first episode, too. Like, scenes from that one. They look so much younger. Someone on the AMA asked, or in the reunion, someone asked that, is this what you envisioned the show being during that first episode? Like, what it's become? Did you see it as being that big? And his answer was, at that time, Jamie and I were just the hired people to do the thing. There wasn't like this Mythbusters, like you guys are gonna be the Mythbusters, and it's gonna be this thing. It's just like they hired basically two guys that were that did special effects work and stuff like that, and like, can you do this? And they were the hired people to do that, more or less, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like, oh, you guys are the talent and you guys will do this and that and the other. Because I remember seeing the first episode. It's a different format than it is kind of now. They had like a folklorist at that time that would she'd basically do like the whole like, here's what the myth's like, and she'd do this storytelling thing about the myth, and then you'd cut to the guys building something or something like that. It was pretty different than it ultimately became, but it was still the same kind of feeling. Like, they're gonna strap a rocket to that car and see if it takes off. It was a good start, actually.
Yeah.
Not a bad beginning. Strap rockets to a car. Okay.
The rocket car.
Which apparently they did like 4 times because it kept going poorly. Like, first time it didn't, I don't think it's supposed to take off or something. Like, it hits a bump and then shoots off like a rocket, basically.
Yeah.
So they revisited it again, and they built like a ramp thing, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna do it this time. It's like the whole episode's, I think, dedicated to just this myth because it went badly the first time, and it gets up and they fire off the rockets while it's on the ramp, and the sucker just blows up. Like, just fireball, and it's like, okay. And it's like the whole episode's built up to that moment where it's just like, well, that was a spectacular failure kind of thing. So, as they say in the show, failure is always an option. I'm sure they didn't like that option at that point because they spent a lot of time
and money
setting that up. Because that's another thing about the show is you don't really get an idea of how much time they spent working on anything because everything's obviously cut like just to the bits you need kind of thing. Like, here's them building something, here's it completed, here's them testing it out kind of thing. You're like, oh, that didn't take long. I got to see everything in about an hour. It's like you don't see like the hours of work they put into building whatever monstrosity or thing that they made.
Yeah.
From nothing. It's like, this thing never existed, and you created a whole thing just from what you thought, like, hey, we could do this, that, and the other, and like, you just made a thing. An entire thing. Wow, that's amazing. But when you see it, you're like, oh, we're going to make this. Okay, it's done. More or less. Like, here's us welding something, and here's us tooling something, and then it's done. But just like, they put a lot of work into that. They've been at it probably for weeks and stuff, and the end result is failure. You're just like, I can see why they're probably not happy as much as you're like, oh, that didn't go so well. Oh, well, whatever. You only spent like 30 minutes invested in that myth. They spent like 3 weeks. Like, okay, we're going to get everything right, and it exploded. Well, that's kind of thing. You kind of lose that aspect.
I'm picturing Jamie when you do that.
I think you get the mustache,
yeah,
the beret, and you can be the Adam Sandler. I'll be Jamie Hyneman. But you know what? It was very entertaining, and you can always go back and watch them. They'll probably be around forever. So
yeah,
I'm glad that it existed. I'm glad I got to watch them when they're around, and who knows? I'll probably binge watch it again. 14 seasons.
Have you seen his Adam Savage's lab? It's got a whole bunch of Star Wars props in there.
Well, that's one of his big things too, is like props.
Stormtrooper outfits.
Prop replicas. And I'm like, holy crap. That's amazing. And these are replicas of the thing. Usually it's like him, I want that thing.
I thought they were like working models too. Like, he had a working R2-D2.
I wouldn't doubt it. Like, as much working as it can be.
A lot of stuff that he's built just to have that
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, look at this, I got that. And I think it was actually on Google Maps. Like, you could explore his lab on Google Maps.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing with my life? I want to make that kind of thing. It looks nothing like it. It's kind of like the thing, like, expectation, reality. Like, when I do it. Like, his are like, expectation, reality. Looks practically the same. Mine's are just like,
You're like,
it's supposed
close enough.
Close enough.
It's like, I put too much time into this. I already did 45 minutes. It's almost an hour.
Man.
I call it quits.
Never mind. He's like lathing things. He's using so many tools. Like, I don't even know what that thing is, but it makes things better somehow. I don't even know what that tool is.
It makes everything better.
I need one of those things. That's what I need. Then all my stuff will be good. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it. It's not going to do anything.
Well, the best that we can do is just have somebody else make it and we purchase it outright.
Or make a shoddier version of it.
Have you seen that or heard about a life-size BB-8 coming out this holiday?
It has not.
So Sphero was the company that built the BB-8, the little one, the app-controlled BB-8. And advertised online, everyone thought it'd be bigger, like maybe the size of a bowling ball, at least. But you come out and it's like, oh no, it's the size of a baseball.
Yeah. It's the size of their Sphero they already had.
Yeah, it's very, very tiny. So a lot of people are like, man, I wanted more of a life-size one. So this year, Spin Master is coming out with a life-size BB-8. And it's not app-controlled, but it does have its own remote control. Also correctly color-coded and themed to the droid itself. And it also has voice control. But the important thing is it's life-size. The early reviews say it feels authentic. It's the same size and shape as a cinematic model, but with plastic construction instead of metal, because costs. So it's light enough to kind of bring around everywhere. And then using the included remote, you can have it glide smoothly around the floor with the head maintaining its perch on top thanks to magnets, just like how the original Sphero BB-8 worked. But voice activation, you can actually call him over and you can have him follow you. Voice commands to make it more real seeming. More realistic. So you can say its name or other basic commands, get an enthusiastic series of beeps and chirps, and it'll react to a mention of other specific Star Wars characters. So let's say, look out, it's Kylo Ren. And then he'll like shudder and scream, or I don't know. Fearful droid noises of disapproval.
Fearful droid noises.
So guess how much it's going to cost?
$300.
Close. $150.
Cheaper than I thought.
No.
I mean, the Sphero, how much was the Sphero one?
The Sphero was $150. This is going to be $180.
That's only
$30 more.
What?
Life size. And they're both made of plastic.
That's crazy talk.
I don't know how many they're going to come out with, but yeah, this fall-ish. So that's when it'll come out.
I wonder. I mean, the Sphero one was surrounded by the hype of the movie too. This one's, I mean, obviously everyone already seen the movie, loves the movie, but it won't be wrapped up in the hype at that moment, that momentary hype.
I don't know. I bought a sort of autonomous R2-D2 astromech droid that roams around on its own, runs on like 4D batteries and 4 AA batteries for memory. The D batteries that drive the motors and everything. And that one sold out. And that was like over $100-something.
Okay.
And
this is definitely selling
I was
out.
kind of kicking myself too because Wall-E, when that movie came out, they were selling like the ultimate Wall-E, which was I think $150 or $200, or I forgot how much it was. I think it was $150, but it was the big one, and it was really interactive and very expressive. And I'm waiting and waiting for it to come out, and I don't see it released. And the thing I didn't do was follow it online of when it was coming out exactly and where it was being released. So I'm like fully expecting it to be at Toys R Us around the corner, and it's like, no, it didn't come out there. It came out over here instead. And like, and I missed it. And then when I went back to look again, all of a sudden it's like, oh, they still sell it. Third-party seller on like Amazon or eBay or something, and they're charging like $500 for it. And it's like, forget that. Just take my loss.
Nope.
So this one, I would like to have it.
And you're not going to get burned
pre-order.
again?
No, I'm going to get burned again.
Not again.
Put him next to my R2-D2.
This is happening. I wonder if it'll work better
Pre-order it.
in the Sphero ones, because the Sphero ones seem to have trouble on certain surfaces.
Well, this is a lot bigger too, so I'm sure it'll have better traction.
Right? That's what I was trying to think.
Yeah, the Sphere one doesn't work very well on carpet at all. The motor's not strong enough. It's got a very slippery surface. It even takes a while for it to start rolling on like
linoleum.
Yeah, linoleum, hardwood floors, anything like that. It's like, okay, start going, like, and it starts going, and it's going super fast, like, stop! I think I had mine running in the kitchen, and then I kind of lost track of it, and it's like, where'd it go? It's like, oh no, it's going too fast, stop! And the cabinets that we have, there's a lip underneath there, so the body fits perfectly under the lip, the head doesn't. So he got decapitated. The head just kind of popped off and boop. Ransom Ross like, oh no. I had to get up from the couch and be like, what happened? Where'd your head go? Did I bend an antenna?
Where did your head go?
It's $150. It's so expensive.
But now for $30 more.
Life size. And more awesome.
Yeah, it seems pretty good in every way.
Buy it.
I've been told I already have too much stuff. Many times.
But this one will follow you around. He can be your companion. Pet companion.
My canine.
If you're not allowed to have pets, then this can be your electronic pet. Better than an Aibo.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. The robotic dog.
Screw you. This one's like a soccer ball. And it follows me around. It likes me. At least I tell it to like me.
Soccer ball, volleyball, name it Wilson. Wilson.
Legit. So looking forward to that. This holiday season?
Maybe before the holiday. There's no date set yet, but I'll definitely have to start following that and follow up on Spin Master.
Don't get lost this
BB-8.
time. Don't lose out, man.
Yeah,
Stay
this one
focused.
was also at the Toy Fair.
Ah.
So, yay!
We need to go to the toy fairs
Yay!
so we can see all the cool stuff.
It's only in New York, and I'm pretty sure that's cheap, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I think you can drive there. Take you an hour or two.
I'll fly. I'll meet you there.
Road trip. Road trip.
Not like that. Not like that.
Forced march.
Yeah. Maybe order that off Amazon. Maybe. No?
Maybe. I think Carrie would give me dirty looks. Why did you buy this? How's that? It's cool. Well, I can't argue with that. She will say.
Yeah.
Never.
It'll definitely qualify for that free shipping minimum.
Won't have that problem.
Did you hear about that? How they raised the price of their free shipping minimum? Where it was $25 before. Now it's $49.
That's for add-on stuff, right?
No.
Oh, right.
So they increased the price. Well, okay, it was 25 and then they got bumped up to 35 more recently. And now it's up to 49. And the only exception that they have is if you're spending $25 on books that qualify for free delivery. So you have to spend $50 because they're pushing Prime membership a lot, which is like free 1 day, free same day.
That's what I got.
Free 2 days.
You got that.
Yeah.
I only got it because it was on sale.
Whenever I get the free 1 day, I'm like, hell yeah.
I sometimes see where it's like, oh, free 1 day. And then when I go to the shipping, it automatically puts on the 2 day. I'm like, what? Why would you do that?
Because it's expensive.
But it's free.
I've seen them actually deliver it. Sometimes it comes in the Amazon truck itself. Other times they have like runners. Like I saw someone drive up in a Prius.
Okay, I hadn't seen that.
With their Prius seats folded down and the car full of boxes. And then they just kind of run out there like in jeans and a t-shirt with a clipboard and like, okay, here, drop it off. Where am I supposed to go next? Driver.
I'd seen it's not that, but like, not like a secondary, not like the UPS with FedEx, but like a different kind of van. I think is
On track.
On track, yes.
Yeah, they're also they're like a lot smaller version of UPS, FedEx, like express ground service, whatever.
Yeah.
But Amazon, they're trying to start up their own courier service to move their own packages because it's expensive. A lot of their costs have been just shipping. And they're paying an insanely high amount for shipping because of people wanting things like me right away. It's like, I want this today. And I think
I want this before I order it.
Well, kind of, it's almost like as if you went to like a Target or a Walmart or whatever store that you're trying to buy it from, like Best Buy, and like, oh, I'm going to buy this and take it home today. You can actually order it online and have it at home today.
Yeah, that always blew my mind. Although it's weird because the times, it's like, it'll be here around 8 o'clock p.m. Like, what?
It's today.
It's still today. And even then, I think it came one time like 10:30 or something, 10:30 p.m.
Wow.
It's just like, did you hear somebody knock at the door? There you go. There's just a package there. Nobody around. Must have been a ghost. Like,
Amazon ghost.
I guess it made it here today. But it's weird because it's just like, well, they got packages delivered. You want 1 day? We'll give you 1 day. 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I guess I can't get the drones to do anything yet, so we'll just get these people to do it.
Yeah, their logistics costs increased by nearly 33% in 1 year. That's why they had to bump up that cost. It's like, we got to make more of a profit to kind of offset this. But they're trying to compete on that bigger level, especially during Christmas. Huge. That's how I do my shopping.
Seems like how everybody does their shopping these days.
I don't have to deal with the crowds. Amazon has sales and price matches.
It seems like how everyone, I assume, does it, but yet the malls and stuff are still packed, I'm pretty sure, during the holidays. So I guess as much as things change, they still manage to stay the same.
Unfortunately. But there is there has been a shift this past year. The brick and mortar retail sales have been softer, a lot softer. And the online division has been kind of growing significantly by comparison. So it's like something's going to give, something's going to drastically change at some point. Maybe this year.
Well, it does seem like the obvious path. I mean, when you shop online, it's pretty much all good. The only problem is you don't get to see whatever it is you want in person. So depending on what it is, if it's something you'd want to see hands-on before you just buy it, then yeah, in that case, having the brick and mortar option is good.
And
but for everything else,
they're opening up bookstores.
Who is?
Amazon. Like brick and mortar stores.
Why?
Exactly.
Okay. I was like, I'd like to hear the reasoning, because to a certain extent, a book's a book, you know. I want this book.
On my Kindle right now.
I don't know what you gain by having a brick and mortar store for specifically books, unless there was some kind of rare books or something that you need to touch this. You need to feel this.
Well, the thing with the bookstores is, like the Borders back in the day, and then Barnes and Noble even, their focus isn't selling books anymore. It's selling like gift sets and toys and stuff. So have you been to the Barnes and Noble recently? Like when you walk in, the featured thing, it's like, oh, here's a table of books, and then here's a table of merchandise. And it's like, wait, okay. And it's not cheap merchandise. It's kind of pricey. Like, it's like, oh, I could find this cheaper at like Walmart or whatever.
Well, because there's at least our local Barnes & Noble, it has the Lucille's. Well, it used to be across the street from it.
Yeah.
So whenever we'd go to Lucille's, my mom still likes to go to Barnes & Noble. So I always like, okay, let's just go across the street and go check it out, kind of thing. I always just kind of walk in, look around, like, oh, that looks interesting, look at the price, and then put it back on the shelf.
It's like, oh, I'm going to order this off Amazon.
Exactly. Like, I'm like, nothing I picked up there I couldn't get for cheaper on Amazon.
A lot cheaper, too.
The only bonus is I can walk out of the store with it now, or I could wait 2, possibly 1 days to get it.
8 p.m. or 10:30 p.m.
At a reduced price. So,
yeah.
And I mean, my mom really likes it. She's not going to change or anything. She's not going to get a Kindle or anything that I know of. So she enjoys going to the bookstore and picking out books and looking at them like that. It's just how she rolls. So I think it works for people like that. And people looking for a place to study in a
library?
Starbucks. No, I mean, they don't have new stuff in the library most of the time. Or if it is new, it's usually being checked out by 30 other people, and you're just in a waiting list kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's more. I want to feel it's more geared toward those people that really like doing that. Because like I like going to like the swap meet and stuff, and just looking at stuff out there in the open and stuff like that. But Barnes and Noble, just like, I'm not buying anything here. And I usually I don't even need to have my hands on the books either. Like, I'm fine just going to the Amazon, like, oh, what's the description say? I don't need to feel it in my hand, like, it just feels right or something like that.
Yeah, I remember the last time I was like really shopping for a book. It was a cookbook, and those ones you kind of have to really look hands-on. And I finally found the one that I was looking for. It's like, okay, this is the one where it's what I recognize that I want to try to replicate from what I've had and everything. And it's one of the 50 different same type of books that they had that I had to weed through and like, okay, I found it. And this is the one, the only one, the good one.
This one
right here. And now it's almost a moot point because you just go online, type in something recipe, and you got 200 different types of recipes, all with images and stuff. Does it kind of look like this? Does it kind of look like that? You can actually filter out by image search and be like, okay, this looks like what I ate right there. That's it. Click it. Yep, that sounds about right. You make it, it's like, yeah, that's what I had.
That's what it is. Didn't have to buy a book or anything.
Nope. The internet's gotta have it.
Then again, like even when you go into the Barnes and Noble, like one of the first things they're trying to hook you on is the Nook. It's like a big section right in the middle of the store. It's not even to the side. It's just like I think they kind of get where it's headed too, and they want to be at least a part of it because you got your Kindles, you got your Nooks, you got your other e-readers and stuff, I guess. But they know in certain ways they're kind of a dying breed.
Yeah, actually, that one is. It was in the news last week. They're saying the writing's on the wall for the Nook. The Kindle came out, and it's pretty much destroying the Nook. So they're saying that the Nook store, if you made any purchases, download them now to your device because they're going to shut down in about a month, like their apps and video rentals and all that stuff. Like, download it, get that transferred to something else that's more permanent, and then sideload it or whatever. Because the Nook they partnered with Samsung, which is basically Galaxy Tab, away from like we're making your own hardware. And they included Google Play on there. So it's like, oh, same apps, but I can use Google Play across all my Android devices. So they're like, okay, well, we'll still focus on doing books and stuff right now, but it's becoming less and less and less of what it was or what it first set out to be. So I don't know how much longer it's going to stay around.
What do you think, like a shortish amount of time, or?
But the Kindle's doing pretty well because Amazon's huge and it's got a name for itself. And the support's there. It's not going to go away. But Barnes & Noble's struggling. So
it's kind of sad because I did spend time when I was younger, maybe high school. I want to say going there and buying books that I may or may not read, but being excited about buying new books.
Yeah.
Now I just can't get there. It's like, I could spend less money on this.
Yeah, so what it looks like is going to happen is the Nook's just basically going to concede to Amazon saying, yep, you're the better one, and we're going to bow out of the market and leave it all up to you. And then we'll just focus on the stores. Forget the ebooks and all that. It's like, well, that sucks.
Hmm.
Their ebooks were cool.
Hmm?
Their ebooks were cool.
Their which books?
Ebooks. Or e-readers, sorry.
Oh, e-readers.
What was it? The Simple Touch with Glow Light was the most recent one that they came out with.
I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with.
Claudia has a bunch of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, but I prefer the additional hardware and extra flexibility you get with having the Nook because it's an Android-based device. And the Kindle's very much a closed ecosystem, almost like the Apple and their iDevices. So, sad to see competition fall off. Kind of like I was sad to see Circuit City go.
Didn't you get some good deals, though?
Buy. Yeah, I
I
think
was gonna say.
that last year they were in business. It's like, wow, look at this. Wow, look at that.
Slightly sad.
And it's like, now that they're gone, Best Buy doesn't really have any incentive to do better, provide better deals or anything. It's like, oh, well, it's just an okay sale now. It's like, where are you going to go? Nowhere. That's right. We're the only ones here. It's like, don't remind me.
Kind of true. Although not a lot of people go into Best Buy,
It's expensive.
try stuff, and they go, yeah, I like this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go order it.
It's expensive. Like, I went in there fairly recently and just kind of started looking around, just browsing. I think I was there to pick up one of those deals that came up online. It's like, oh, free pickup in store, and it's like super discounted if you bought this movie or this game or whatever. So I go in, pick up the thing, start walking around like, well, I'm here, might as well see what they have. And it's like, holy crap, everything is expensive. Everything is expensive.
I feel like there used to be a time when it first opened that it was actually...
It was the best buy.
Okay.
Because Circuit City was what Best Buy is now when Best Buy first opened. So now they're kind of sitting high and pretty, and somebody needs to come in and kind of just take away their market share. Create that competition again so I can get my good deals.
Yeah. Every time I do go in there, I just like, oh, there's so many cool things. And then I look, I'm like, geez, this is all like really expensive. And then I end up not buying anything because I'm just like, there's no deals
like,
here.
What's on how much is this on Amazon? It's like, oh wow, it's way cheaper. Let me just go get it there.
That's the competition.
Over
there, people weren't they complaining that people were coming into the store to try but not buy?
Yes. I forgot what that was called, like window shopping or something.
Sounds legit to me. I'm pretty sure I did it when I bought my Surface.
Well, it's being an informed consumer.
Right. I didn't buy my Surface from Amazon, but I did go to Best Buy to try. I'm like, ooh, they got Surfaces here. I want to try this.
Surfi.
This is nice. I like this. It's like, oh, can I help you with that? No. I'm going to buy it somewhere else.
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm good. I like it a lot. I'm not going to buy it here, though.
Yeah.
It was... And it's the same for pretty much anything. Although, I mean... Let's see what... I guess I do buy stuff there because, like, the only other place... It's like stuff like video games I might buy there if I happen to be there. Or Amiibos, if it happens to be a special one. But that doesn't count because that's... If I happen to get lucky, like, ooh, I never saw this one anywhere. So that's more rarity. So that doesn't even count. So.
Right.
Actually, then maybe video games, and that's
video
only
games
because Target's usually the same price anyway, and Amazon's maybe 5 cents less for whatever reason, but negligibly so. There's not a big difference. So I'm like, oh well, I might as well. If I happen to be there, I'm like, I might as well buy it here. I guess it's as good as anywhere.
As well.
that's how I see Best Buy. Might as well. But yeah, there was a time when you got really good deals there. It was the Best Buy. It is not.
It was the best.
Bring back Circuit City.
Around. Yeah. What was the whole point of this? Oh yeah, Amazon. Getting free shipping to be more expensive. To qualify for free shipping. Spend more.
I feel like there's more.
And some other stuff.
Yeah.
Went to a bonus tangent. There you go.
Yeah. Huh. How about that? Now you know my feelings on Best Buy. It's a nice place to look, but not a good place to stay.
Bring back the Circuit City?
Bring back Circuit City. Hashtag bring back Circuit City.
I think they are.
There you go. It's probably going to be some kind of like when they brought back...
Super Crown. It's like, this isn't the same.
I was gonna say Radio Shack, but they didn't bring back Radio Shack. They just didn't close all of them, and then they turned them into phone stores. Most of them.
Cell Shack.
I'm surprised there's still Radio Shacks around, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's good for the little electronic hobby type stores. Because Radio Shack used to be the hobby store. That was their identity, and now, yeah, not anymore. I think people don't really care about that anymore. Like, there's been a shift.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because I did go there recently to buy wires for some LEDs I was going to string up. And I remember, at least the one I used to go to, they had like rows of shelves of electronic pieces and stuff. Like,
yeah, like
pull
here's
the
a
drawers
resistor,
out.
here's a capacitor, there's a diode, there's a transformer, there's...
And it's like one of the few places you could get that. There's that other place that you went to, but it's one... Actually, if I can think of it, like only one of the only places that maybe Fry's might do certain ones and
even
stuff.
Fry's, I noticed they're starting to carry less and less now.
Oh,
They're
really?
focusing a little bit less on the components and more on bigger product. I'm like, well, that sucks.
Oh, well.
It's like, oh, well, there's always Amazon.
And now, and here we come back full circle. Perfect. So bring it right there. Tie a bow on that.
Tie a bow on that. Wrap up this episode.
I was going to end this episode then. I'm going to wrap this up with Amazon.
Wrap it up.
Hashtag not a sponsor. You can email us or send us comments, or answers. That didn't make any sense. Questions or comments to our email address, Taco
And we
Nights
will
Podcast.
Try to answer them.
We will answer any question.
We'll answer your comment.
We will answer any comment.
We'll answer your answer.
Or your answers. Your answer will be answered. Taco Nights Podcast at gmail.com.
Answers Inception.
Answerceptions will be coming. You also find us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Taco Nights Podcast. We also, yes, there's also the Twitter account, Taco Nights.
Yes.
And the Instagram page. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, shoot. Does it have an at the beginning of it? I always forget that.
I think so.
That's the Instagram one. I didn't want to confuse it with the Twitter one. I think it's at Taco Nights Podcast for the Instagram.
Oh, my shift button's too small.
Yeah? Huh.
I'm pulling up iTunes. Stitcher.
No?
Oh wait, is this it?
Okay, so the Instagram is a work in progress.
Oh, there it is. Taco Nights Podcast.
At Taco Nights Podcast?
Yes.
At Taco Nights Podcast.
Instagram.com/Taco Nights Podcast. We have 2 pictures.
I put up one, and it's what I said I was going to put up. That's what we had for our...
I think that's when my phone died after I put up that first picture, not too long after.
I put up the Fuller House one, because that's what I did. That's how we rolled. Pizza, way too much salad, way too many breadsticks, and way too much pizza.
Did you finish that pizza?
No.
Leftovers? You didn't throw them away, did you?
No, but...
You still have them?
No.
They should probably be thrown away now.
Yes. But definitely a meal made for 4 that we ate with 2. But just the bread alone was ridiculous.
Are you pregnant?
Not that I know of. Is there a test for that?
I'm eating for 2. I'm eating for 3. I got twins.
We gotta eat. But yeah, that's now that I understand how it works, I guess I could post to there and the Facebook page. So confusing. But I'll try to post more.
You can cross-post on that. Just hit post to Facebook and Twitter. Post. Then you post to all 3 sites at the same time.
Oh, think of the power. The power.
Yes.
So those are the places we can be reached, or emailed, or messaged, or questioned, or commented.
On all the social medias.
All of them.
Almost.
Almost all of them.
Those 3.
By all of them, I mean those 3. Sound good? Did I miss anything?
No.
Nope. I did not miss anything. So, thanks for listening. I've been your co-host, Keikoa, and with me tonight has been my fellow co-host, Ben.
Good night, brochachos.
Good night, brochachos. Thanks for listening. Till next time.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Taco.
Taco.
Nights.